You have set a task which is measurable. Now, a lot of times reading is not measurable, how much you're reading, what you're reading. But when you've set a goal of two. Hello, everybody. How are you all? Hope you're doing great. So, welcome back to another session of learning English with me. And today is going to be a lesson that is going to be extremely important. Why? Because I'm going to take one of the queries up, and this is one of the most requested query, that is how to develop a reading habit. Struggling to read, struggling to remain consistent while reading something. How to do that? How to achieve that? How to make reading a habit, an everyday habit, a daily habit, a part of your routine. Now, it's very important to make it a part of your routine. It's very important to develop a reading habit. Reading habit. Take up a book and read it. Read it every day. But the thing is that people struggle doing this. A lot of times they do not find motivation. A lot of times they do not like reading. They are not finding any kind of interest in reading something. How to overcome that and how to develop a reading habit. Something that you cannot resist. You cannot resist reading. How to do that? I'm going to tell you today in this particular lesson. So are you all ready for this? I'm Shivangi Gupta, your CELTA certified English language tutor and communication coach, certified by the University of Cambridge, the UK. And before beginning, please subscribe the channel so that you can check out all the lessons that I post for you on the channel. Please like the video and share it with your friends too. Now, coming back to today's lesson, how to develop a reading habit, how to make reading a habit. Now, for that, we need books. We need books, right? Books are something that is absolute necessity when you want to improve your English. To have a book and to read it is very important. And do you know, these books, they're just not there to improve your English. Reading in general is a habit that is going to help you in life. It helps you gain knowledge, it helps you relax, it actually develops your memory too. So there are so many benefits of reading in general. And when you combine it with learning English, when you read something in English in order to improve your English, it's a very powerful tool. Believe me, it is. Now, how to develop a reading habit? How to love reading? Just like me. Now, you all know that I love reading. Reading is love for me. My childhood love, books, reading, and Pride and Prejudice. So I have my favorite novel here too, Pride and Prejudice. Well, why it is my favorite novel? Not because of the story. Story is great, obviously, but it's not the story. It's my memories related to this particular novel, how I get it, when I read it, everything. That is how you create memories, how you associate with a particular book, and that is how you fall in love with reading and you develop a reading habit. So, associating with things. Somebody will say, I love the story too much. It's not just the story, it's not the story. Actually, I love the character, the main protagonist, female protagonist, a lot. That is what I love most about this novel. And as I told you, things related to this particular novel, when I purchased it, how I purchased it, how I get to read it, how my perception changed about this particular novel. So my perception about this being a romance novel changed completely when I was doing my English honors. And I developed a perception where I took it as a kind of feminist novel, where I really liked how the female lead, how the protagonist is standing up for her rights. So that is what I really like about this novel. And there are so many other novels that I love too. How to do that? Well, I have both experiences, personal and professional. I can tell you tips through my personal experience and professional experience. Personal experience because do you think that I always loved reading classics and non-fiction? No, as a child, when I was in my 12th standard, freshly out of school, when I just joined college, at that time I was not so much aware about the classics. And at that particular time, I was neutral towards classics. I was totally in love with fiction. Novels like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. That was my area of interest. Today, I love classics a lot. I totally love classics. I love reading classics. And how did I do that? Because I developed a habit of reading them. And through reading, I totally love them. So, professionally, why? Because I've read novels, I've read a lot of books, fiction and non fiction both, as a part of my curriculum, my education, because I've been a literature student in my undergrad and master's degree both. So you all know that professionally I've read books, and personally, because I love reading, I've read books. I've read lots and lots of books, and I still do love reading. So I'm going to tell you tips, 6 tips through which you can develop everyday reading habit. So are you all ready for this? Let's begin with all the tips now. Tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to create a reading space. Create a reading space. Now, creating reading space is very important. In my personal experience, I found that when you create a reading space, you're automatically motivated to read because you have a little space of yours. Whenever you look at that space or whenever you sit in that particular space, you're motivated to read something. That reading space must be filled with books, with novels, books, fiction, non-fiction, whatever you want to read. You need to keep some reading material. I'm not saying go and buy 20 books right now. No, go buy 5 books maybe. Start with that. Keep some reading material there in that space, which is very important because you're creating a reading space, right? So you must have seen some reading spaces of mine in my videos. Whenever I do a read aloud session, I've also shown you different reading spaces that I've created for myself. You can create just one space. For example, this is my reading space and my workspace both. And I really love this particular space. You can create your reading space because this is going to motivate you a lot. This reading space ensures that you read, because just sitting on your bed and reading and then maybe working and reading will not work for you. When you have a reading space, you have a purpose. There is a purpose of that particular space, and if you're not utilizing it, you'll yourself feel guilty. It's how our subconscious mind works. You'll feel guilty about it and you would want to read. You'd want to sit there, you'd want to read. You'll feel good about reading whenever you're in that particular space because that space is creating a positive environment for you. That space is dedicated to create a reading environment for you where you are motivated to read, where you're encouraged to read. So create a reading space for yourself. It can be a small corner. I'm not saying that you have to dedicate your whole room to reading. No, just a small corner in your room is enough. Maybe a chair, maybe a small bookshelf, whatever you want, however you want it to be, to look. Make a small reading space. That is what is important. If you want to find motivation and consistency in reading, create a reading space for yourself. Tip number 2. Tip number 2 is read before going to bed. Read right before going to bed. And if you're reading fiction, this is a great time to read fiction right before going to bed. Reading right before going to bed motivates you to read and it helps you love what you're reading. Reading right before going to bed is scientifically proven. A lot of successful people, they read right before going to bed because it helps you stay consistent. Just reading for 10 minutes, 15 minutes right before going to bed will help you stay consistent because now it's your routine. You'll make it a part of your routine because doing things right before going to bed is something that you can do because at that particular time you're relaxed. There is no pressure on your head, no pressure on your mind of doing this, of doing that. Now, this is the time where you're going to relax. You are going to sleep. And when you read something right before that, the impact is great in order to improve English, in order to gain knowledge, and also in order to develop a reading habit. So, whenever you read right before going to bed, it is the most effective time to read anything. And it is the most effective time to read fiction, which is actually scientifically proven to, again, that reading fiction before going to bed helps you develop your creativity. So I'm not saying that you have to just read fiction. You can also read non-fiction, but try reading before going to bed. If you're finding it difficult to read every day, if you're finding it difficult to make reading your habit, you find it uninterested to read anything, you're uninterested to read anything, try this particular time right before going to bed. Try it for 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, and see for yourself. Tip number 3. Tip number 3 is read what you love. Read what you love. Do not get influenced by somebody else. Maybe your friend, maybe your colleague, maybe somebody else is reading a particular novel, particular book. You might not find it interesting and you're trying to read it. Will it help you? Obviously not. So try to read something that you love. You know what? If you're an adult and you want to read fiction, for example, you want to read Harry Potter, so what? Go for it. Read it because it will help you develop a reading habit. And once you develop a reading habit, you can explore advanced level books too. You can explore non-fiction, more knowledgeable books, maybe advanced level fiction, classics, whatever you want. But it's really good to start with what you love in order to develop a reading habit. There is something that you must love, and if you're not sure about what you love, then pick up a genre that you love. For example, science fiction, fiction, historical novel, maybe thriller, mystery, romance, horror, gothic. So, whatever you love, pick that particular genre up and start reading. There is no need to get worried about that. I'm reading a fiction, I'm reading something that is considered to be a children's literature. Not an issue. Just begin with it. It's a very good way to begin reading, develop that reading habit. So go for it. Read what you love. Whatever you love, start with that and develop a reading habit for yourself. Tip number 4. Tip number 4 is read 2 pages every day. Read 2 pages every day. So 2 pages are minimum. From my side, 2 pages are minimum because I believe you should read around 500, at least 500 words. So if you're reading 2 pages, you will be covering around 450 to 650 words approximately, depending on the print of the book that you are reading. So 450 to 650 words approx, I think that's a great way to start something, start reading. So 2 pages every day. If you're not able to find a particular time, if you're not able to dedicate particular minutes, maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, you're not able to find motivation. So set a goal for yourself that I am going to read 2 pages at least every day. 2 pages every day. And once you achieve this goal, maybe for a month, you do it for a month, and you will see a big difference because now you're supposed to read those 2 pages. It's like it's a set task for you. You're taking it up as a challenge for yourself. And when you take it up as a challenge, you are yourself motivated to do it because you have set a goal for yourself. You have set a task which is measurable. Now, a lot of times reading is not measurable, how much you're reading, what you're reading. But when you've set a goal of 2 pages, now you can measure your efforts. That have I read 2 pages or not? If not, then that day's worth of reading is not done, it's not complete. So you can measure your efforts too. How much efforts are you making towards making reading your habit? So are you reading 2 pages or not? So I suggest start with reading 2 pages every day. Take up a novel, take up a book, non-fiction, fiction, doesn't matter. Take something up. It can be a magazine too. Take it up and read 2 pages every day and see the difference for yourself. Tip number 5. Tip number 5 is visit a local library, a bookstore, or a book cafe. So there are libraries around you. I'm sure there are going to be good libraries in your locality. So go visit those libraries. If there is a membership, take that membership. Visit book cafes. Book cafes are basically cafes where you can hang out and read a book. So go there, go with your friends, hang out, drink coffee, and read a book because this will help you love reading, develop a reading habit. Now, if I take my example, for us, our college canteen used to be a book cafe because I was a literature student. That's why we never visited book cafes so much because we always carried our novels with ourselves. We had so many books in the bag that we used to carry, and that's why we could hang out anywhere, the group of friends, the classmates, and we could open our novels, read it, discuss it. We used to do that, and that helps you a lot, that motivates you a lot. Now, visiting bookstores and libraries, obviously, we used to do that a lot because we were literature students. So, visiting bookstores, visiting libraries, that was something there in our routine, and it helped us a lot in falling in love with that reading process even more. So, I used to be so excited whenever I used to visit a bookstore. Getting that book, buying that book was a wonderful feeling and experience. It's like when you pick up a freshly printed, freshly bought book, you open it and you smell the pages, you feel it. It's such a wonderful feeling. And I know I've told you this before too, that I really love the feel of a hardcover and how it is when you buy a fresh book, you open it, you feel it, the pages and everything. And that is the beauty of reading. That's the beauty of reading. Even if you're reading on your e device, still, that's the beauty of reading. And that's why it's necessary to go and visit bookstores, that even if you're not buying those books, if you have your e-reader, like I have my Kindle, still I buy books and I buy ebooks too, both the things, so that you can also buy some physical books. From now and then you can buy, and buying those books are important. The most important thing is you're surrounded with books. When you visit a bookstore, when you visit a library, you're surrounded with books, and that feeling that you have when you're surrounded with books, that is what is important, that is what is going to motivate you to read more. And when you're motivated to read more, you'll develop a reading habit. Definitely you are going to develop a reading habit. So try visiting bookstores, try visiting library from time to time. I'm not saying that you have to go there every day, but maybe once a week, twice a month, try doing that and see how you are going to love books and love reading. Now, tip number 6, last tip for today. Tip number 6 is join a book club. Now, this is an optional thing for you. Optional tip. You can join a book club if you want. If you think that you want some external force to read something, join a book club. Easiest way to develop a habit. I know you have to make more efforts because you have to find a book club, you have to join it. You can either join a physical book club if you have in your locality, or maybe you can join an online book club. So join a book club. A book club is like a membership where you are joining a book club, you meet people, different readers, there are authors sometimes invited in that particular group too, and you get to know about books, you get to attend read aloud sessions, and then there are discussions of books. We had a book club in the college, so I remember running a book club, like students, we all students, we ran a book club for some amount of time, and that was a great thing. And that is what is going to motivate you, because you are going to be there and you'll find something that you love to read, you'll meet another person who love to read that particular thing, and when you're gonna talk about that particular book, you'll feel happy about it, and you might want to reread that book. Go for it, reread it. The thing is that you have to read in English, you have to develop a habit of reading, and that is important. And when you join a book club, when you discuss within a group a particular book, you find yourself motivated to read that particular book. You find yourself with lots of recommendations, and you can read that particular book and you can just go with the flow. So join a book club if you want, and even if you're not joining the book club, still you have 5 tips that I've given you, and those 5 tips are gonna work wonderfully if you're doing this individually. If you're not even joining a book club, still you have lots and lots of options to develop reading as a habit. These are all the 6 tips that you must follow if you want to become an avid reader and you want to develop a reading habit. You want to make reading your habit, something that you are able to do naturally, something that comes to you naturally, that you are not able to resist reading. take up all the 6 tips that I've given you, and I'm sure you are going to become a natural reader. Reading will become your habit, and you'll find consistency while reading something. So make reading an everyday habit by using all the 6 tips that I've given you today. So that's it. That is the lesson for today. Now we're going to end the lesson, and please do tell me in the comment section below which reading habit tip you liked most, and are you going to take this up, and which one is going to work for you. Do let me know in the comment box below. Till then, everybody, take care. I'm going to meet you again in the next lesson. Take care, everybody, and bye.